larger than the sound. Maybe not every road needs to become a story. I used to leave before the weather changed, before people learned my name, before routines started forming, before comfort felt too safe. I told myself the road was honest, because roads don't ask for much. Just keep moving, keep your distance, don't let anybody touch. I kept old directions folded inside the lining of my coat, and every place that almost kept me turned into another note. Then one afternoon you looked at me like I didn't have to go. You said you always talk about tomorrow. Do you ever notice today? And somehow I couldn't answer where the evening slows. That's where I found you. Not in city lights, not in somewhere new, where the evening slows and the shadows lose their edge. I stopped chasing every horizon and stayed instead. Stayed instead. Stayed instead. Stayed instead. You talked about ordinary moments like they carried hidden gold. Open windows, second coffees, and stories growing old. You said maybe people don't need more, maybe they need enough. I laughed because nobody had ever made enough. Sound beautiful, the bass moved underneath the silence. Piano widened every phrase, and suddenly all my old ambitions didn't feel as loud. Maybe freedom is a movement, maybe peace is an escape. Maybe all this time I confuse leaving with change, where the evening slows. That's where I found you. Not in city lights, not in somewhere new, where the evening slows and the shadows lose their edge. I stopped chasing every horizon and stayed instead. Stayed instead. Stayed instead. Stayed instead. I thought the road made me somebody. I thought distance made me wise. But roads don't tell you who you are, they only tell you where you've been. And maybe for the first time, that's enough. Where the evening slows, I don't need another sign. No more counting exits, no more trying to outrun time. Where the evening slows and the world turns gold again, I finally found a place that didn't ask who I'd been, didn't ask who I'd been. I used to think peace would feel bigger, turn feels like this. First time in a long while, I didn't start the engine. There was a time I'd count the exits before I ever sat down. Always halfway out the doorway, never long enough in town. Wore freedom like a lucky jacket, worn thin around the seams, filled the silence with directions, and called that chasing dreams. I kept old roads inside my pockets, old sunsets in my head, believing if I stayed too long I'd become somebody else instead. Then one evening, you poured 2 cups of coffee without asking if I'd go. You said, you don't always have to decide. Sometimes you can just stay and see. And somehow that felt impossible. If I don't leave tonight, will the morning still arrive? Will these old restless hands remember how to hold instead of drive? If I don't leave tonight, will the world still turn around? Because somewhere in your quiet I hear a different sound. Stay a while, stay a while, stay a while. You talked about familiar places like they weren't something to escape. Kitchen lights and open windows and letting ordinary stay. You said, maybe home isn't forever, maybe it's just where you exhale. I smiled, because nobody had ever made stillness sound alive. The electric guitar drifted softly, bass moved slowly underneath, and suddenly all my old reasons started losing their weight. Maybe freedom isn't distance, maybe peace isn't control. Maybe I kept leaving because staying felt too close. If I don't leave tonight, will the morning still arrive? Will these old restless hands remember how to hold instead of drive? Because somewhere in the quiet I hear a different sound. Stay a while, stay a while, stay a while. I thought movement kept me honest, I thought roads kept me free. Roads don't know your stories, roads don't wait, roads don't see. People do, and maybe that's what scared me most. first time. I won't confuse peace with fear. Stay a while, stay a while. For years, I thought leaving was courage. Tonight, I'm not so sure. Everything feels open and unfinished. Some roads don't end, they just stop asking you to keep going. I used to leave before attachment, before names became routines, before mornings turned familiar and places turned into memories. I kept my life inside small spaces, backseat windows, borrowed rooms, always telling myself that staying too long would change me. The bass entered like another thought, slow and steady underneath, and somewhere between the silence I realized I was tired. And you asked me, what if nothing's missing? What if you're already here? And suddenly I didn't know. Until the morning stayed, I never noticed how fast I had been, running through conversations, leaving before they could begin. Until the morning stayed, I thought freedom meant alone, but somewhere inside your quiet I started feeling like home, like home, like home, like home. You talked about ordinary moments, like they deserve to be remembered. Open curtains, half-read books, and evenings without adventure. You said maybe people don't find peace, maybe they stop walking past it. I smiled because somehow that felt true. The electric guitar drifted softly, the piano widened every line, and suddenly every old horizon didn't seem so far away. Maybe freedom is a movement, maybe peace is an escape. Maybe all this time I've been searching for permission to stay until the morning stayed. I never noticed how fast I'd been, running through conversations, even before they could begin. Until the morning stayed, I thought freedom meant alone, but somewhere inside your quiet I started feeling like home, like home, like home, like home. I thought the road would tell me who I was supposed to be, but roads only move forward, they never turn around. And maybe the person I was looking for wasn't waiting somewhere ahead. Maybe he was waiting for me to stop. Until the morning stayed, I finally let the silence speak. No more racing through the hours, no more disappearing quietly. Until the morning stayed, I learned something simple For years, I thought the road was calling. Maybe it was just echoing. The room feels quiet enough to hear breathing. I used to think life happened somewhere else. I spent years arriving halfway, never fully unpacking my days, always leaving something unfinished, just in case I needed to escape. I learned the comfort of departure, the feeling of an open door, like movement itself could promise something more. I counted seasons by highways, counted sunsets by location, and somehow every destination started looking the same. And one evening, you didn't ask what came next, you asked what I wanted. I said, I don't know anymore. And for the first time, it didn't feel like failure. When nothing needed changing, I finally looked around. No distant skyline calling, no wheels against the ground. When nothing needed changing, I heard things I forgot, the sound of slow conversations, and all the things I thought I lost, thought I lost. He talked about ordinary hours, like they had their own design, reading while the rain kept falling and not apologizing for time. He said, maybe life isn't hiding, maybe you're just walking too fast. I smiled, because somehow that sounded true. The fretless bass moved quietly, like old memories breathing slow. And suddenly every road behind me didn't need to be explained. Maybe freedom isn't movement, maybe peace isn't arrival. Maybe all this time I forgot stillness can be alive. When nothing needed changing, I finally looked around. No distant skyline calling, no wheels against the ground. When nothing needed changing, I heard things I forgot, the sound of slow conversations, and all the things I thought I lost, thought I lost, thought I lost. Thought I needed a reason to stop and stay a while, but maybe not leaving is reason enough. Maybe the world doesn't open when you go farther. Maybe it opens when you remain. When nothing needed changing, not every road means progress, not every leaving's good. When nothing needed changing, I stopped asking for more and found the kind of silence I never stayed long enough for. Long always thought peace would feel unfamiliar. Turns out it felt like this. I used to think the world only changed. I always thought the road would notice if I stopped. Left so often it became a language, half-packed bags and quiet exits. Every goodbye sounded temporary, every return felt unfinished. I memorized the shape of highways and the names of towns at night, convinced that somewhere farther west everything would finally feel right. I kept old motel keys in the console, old maps with folded seams, thinking movement meant becoming something bigger than me. One evening you looked over and asked if tomorrow didn't ask you to leave, would you know how to stay? And suddenly the room got quiet. The road doesn't miss me back, no matter how far I drive, no matter how many sunsets disappear into the night. The road doesn't miss me back, but maybe that's okay, because for the first time there's something here that makes me wanna stay. Stay. Talked about ordinary evenings like they were worth protecting, dinner plates and open windows and songs without endings. You said maybe people don't need forever, maybe they just need one reason. I smiled because somehow that sounded enough. The strings entered quietly, pedal steel stretched across the room, and suddenly every old direction felt softer than before. Maybe freedom isn't distance, maybe peace isn't escape, maybe all these years I kept moving because nobody asked me to stay. The road doesn't miss me back, no matter how far I drive, no matter how many sunsets disappear into the night. The road doesn't miss me back, but maybe that's okay, because for the first time there's something here that makes me wanna stay. Stay. thought leaving meant courage. I thought distance meant control. But roads don't remember birthdays. Roads don't know your stories. Roads don't wait. People do, maybe. That's what I've been looking for all along. The road doesn't miss me back, and maybe it never did. Maybe roads are meant for moving, not for where you live. The road doesn't miss me back, but tonight I finally see home isn't where you stop driving. It's where somebody waits for you. Waits for you. Waits for you. Electric guitar, bananas. I still love the road. I just don't belong to it anymore.